So this is a piece of, so in a previous video you would have seen me starting to dye this from scratch. This is basically me discussing this piece of leather. This is I believe Shell Cordovan leather, veggie tan leather from horse. I believe it's the horse belly. And it's very smooth leather. It's very compact leather and condensed leather. So if you look at the back here, you'll see compared to cow leather, it's very condensed. I'm just gonna now explain what I did previously. Basically, I wet the leather, and the reason I wet the leather was that so there could be a dispersion of the liquid, which is the dye. This is an oil-based dye here that I'm using, dark brown color. I tend to like dark brown for leather. I tend not to like the fashionable blues or greens or reds. It just to me makes it look more like leather. I also tend to like the so-called, I tend to like the imperfections in leather. So the stuff I sell will, because it's handmade, will have those imperfections for the most part. I don't really see them as imperfections. I more just see it as the characteristics of the leather. So anyway, this is horse leather. It's very, very smooth, very shiny, very compact, which gives it a greater quality for water resistance because of the nature of this particular type of leather. So, you know, it can resist more than your ordinary, than calf skin or even cow or cattle leather. I'm discussing now the process of me dyeing it. I usually use small concentric circles to start off with, to put in the first layer, and I wet the leather first so that when I put in the dye there will be some kind of even dispersion throughout the leather. Now it won't go throughout the entire piece of leather, but what it will do is hopefully give me a smoother finish. Because what will happen on the skin is that you'll have different areas that absorb the dye differently depending on how the animal was raised. Some areas of a particular patch might be thicker, some patches might be thinner. So the dye isn't necessarily going to go and sit evenly throughout the entire thing. This is literally, think about your own skin. You don't necessarily have uneven coloration of skin. Some places may have been sunburned, some places not. Some places would get more wear and tear, such as your elbows, and there would be calluses on your hands from if you were manually working, etc. like that. So you're not gonna get that. And the reason I tend to like the more natural feel is because I think it represents actually that it is from a living animal. It's a living product, and it just shows that it's natural, that it's not fake. And I tend to like that, to be honest with you. I don't like stuff that looks like you don't know where it came from. I mean, it's not it's not like popcorn chicken where how does popcorn have to do with chicken? It's actually a piece of, you actually can see that this, where it came from, at least for the skin, which is just a part of the animal. But you can see that, and you can see, well, okay, this is really X, Y, and Z. It's not imitation, it's not fake. You will see those imperfections or those variances. I would call them variances. Yeah, so I start in small concentric circles like this. I usually do a coating, quick, and then I just run through it again. So once I get my first couple coats on, what I do is I just kind of look for anywhere I find that hasn't been, like, think needs to get put a little bit more or something, and I just kind of work those areas a little bit more with some dye. Usually it's not much dye you need, but the more dye you can afford to use, the better, because it will sink down deeper, especially for the oil dye, which doesn't sit on the top of the leather. It actually goes into the leather, so it absorbs into the leather. The water-based dyes, some of them, I find the oil-based dyes tend to just go deeper, and they also give it a nice, because it's oil, it gives it a nice, I find anyway, a nice kind of shine. You know, it's basically like, think about oil on your skin, so it's basically gonna absorb into your skin like any kind of thing, and basically that's it. Usually you have to wait for about 2 days before the oil sets in, before you even wash it or even attach another liquid. So this is gonna take some time for the dyes to set in. Yeah, and that's about it really. So that's dyeing leather, or horse saddle, horse leather.